Speaking is now recorded. Josefina, please, floor is yours.
Okay, so welcome everyone. My name is Josephine Krasnodemska and I'm a project manager at 7 Balls. Today I have a pleasure to be a host of this webinar. The first one, entitled Breakout of Metrics and Free Your Mind into the Multi-Cloud World, was the first chapter. It ended with success. That's why we decided to present the second one, Metrics Reloaded, Multi-Cloud is Coming Back. Some of you probably will ask yourself, what is the idea behind our webinar and what is the idea of the title? You know, some technical innovations, some services, products, some movies actually are overtaking their epoch. And that was exactly with the Matrix with Keanu Reeves from 1999 and multi-cloud today. Because the main idea behind the webinar is a world without rules and controls, without borders or boundaries, a world where anything is just possible. Where we go from there is a choice I leave to all of you right now. Our speakers, Marta Różańska, Alicja Reniewicz, Maciej Riedl, Paweł Skrzypek, and Katarzyna Materka will introduce the concept of multi-cloud, as well as provide a practical guide to the existing state-of-the-art multi-cloud solutions. So nothing more, just please sit down conveniently and free your minds into the world of cloud with extensive coverage on migration tactics, vendor selection, optimization, multi-cloud environments, and many, many more. At the beginning, some technical information. Anytime during our webinar, you can write a question in the section questions and answers. You see it in the panel. In the meantime, we'll try to answer your questions, writing it in this section or just after, so at 5:20 more or less at the end of the webinar. If you would like to ask directly our speakers about any topic from their presentation, please do so at the end of our session by raising a hand. I will tell it, of course, during our session questions and answers again. So our webinar is recorded, as you know, and will be available through Melodic and Morphemic website and social media. So not to extend any second more, I would like to introduce you. Our first excellent speaker is Marta Różańska. She will introduce multi-cloud deployments and why to deploy into multi-cloud. A few words about Marta. She's a researcher and PhD student at the University of Oslo, as well as a researcher at 7 Balls. She has been working on cloud computing optimization for both commercial and research projects for 4 years. It is also a topic of her PhD thesis. Marta leads the development of the proactive adaptation feature in ongoing Morphemic project. Marta, the floor is yours.
So, hello, I'm Marta, and today I would like to show you the way to the cloud, to be more precise, to the multi-cloud world. I assume you already know what the cloud computing is, and you also know what are the greatest benefits of using cloud for deploying your applications. So I will just briefly remind it. I will not focus on convincing you to start using cloud computing in general. I will focus on benefits of multi-cloud approaches. There are basically 2 options for cloud application deployment infrastructure, cloud or on-premise, which means bare metal server. Both approaches have pros and cons. And the biggest advantage of the cloud is the fact that the pricing model is constructed in a way pay as you go, which can be not a big amount of money at the beginning when running MVP, etc. It is possible to use cloud in many ways. Here are the most important acronyms for you. The first one, infrastructure as a service, which offers services such as pay-as-you-go storage, networking, and virtualization. It gives users cloud-based alternatives to on-premise infrastructure, so businesses can avoid investing in expensive on-site resources. You can buy what you need as you need it and purchase more as your business grows. Platform as a service, currently the most popular model, where you can pay for the virtual environment, like hardware and software tools available over the internet. People, usually developers, use these tools to develop applications. When using PaaS, you don't need to start from scratch when creating applications. It saves a lot of time and money on writing extensive code. Last from the most popular possibilities is software as a service, where you can use services that are simply offered over the internet, usually for a monthly subscription fee. SaaS providers also offer out-of-the-box solutions that are simple to set up if you need a basic package, with more complex solutions for larger organizations. Probably you already thought and chose cloud, so just to mention, sometimes it may be valuable to consider buying your own infrastructure. For example, if you do machine learning training and you use GPUs, they are pretty expensive in the cloud. So it may be cheaper to do the basic training on-premise and use cloud for higher demand. Such example of hybrid development and deployment will be shown at the end of this webinar. For now, let's go cloud. When you grow, you need quick scaling. When one blogger posts a tweet with your product one day, or when Polish football team play with Spain, the interest can increase rapidly and you need to be prepared. You probably want to be prepared because this moment can never happen again. The ability to scale the infrastructure immediately and the high availability are the biggest advantage of the cloud. That is the reason why the usage of cloud services grew 60% in last 3 years, and it is expected to grow even more. There are many examples of startups that have caught the momentum because being in the cloud from the very beginning. For example, Pokemon Go. You probably know or remember this game. Their popularity a few years ago exceeded 50 times the expected traffic, and they were able to handle this with Google Cloud. They had a huge success. What's more, on this chart below, you can see that the big growth of popularity took only 2 months. Even if they had been able to predict a tremendous success and they had bought the infrastructure to handle this, they would have overpaid. So probably Pokemon Go bills to GCP for these 2 months were huge, but after that period, they are not paying and maintaining the redundant infrastructure. They had their momentum, they earned their money, and we all remember the name of this application. You also probably know the cases where the product was not ready to grow. Many web shops are always not ready for Black Friday. As an example, J.Crew, American multi-brand retailer, had technical difficulties which have lasted 5 hours during Black Friday 2019. It impacted 323, around $775,000 in sales. Don't think that it didn't happen last year. Even the best retailers experienced website crashes, including Adidas, Nike, or Apple. Walmart lost 9 million in just 2.5 hours last year. They were not in cloud, or they did it wrongly. And we will tell you more about what wrongly means later. You want to avoid this. So we are now together in cloud and we can sleep safe. Can we? After some time, being in the cloud may not be so comfortable anymore. The cost of the cloud infrastructure is bigger and bigger. Companies starting to be tied to the cloud provider, there is a need to rely on its prices and availability. It may be too costly for you as the application owner to move to another cloud provider, and you may not have resources to do that. Statistics shows that many business owners estimate that the critical part of the application is the fact that their data and computing is located in one cloud provider. What you can see on this diagram is that the blue parts are the most critical, red are moderate risks, and green are considered low risks. Business owners are afraid of data breach and cyber attacks, and failure to provide agreed service levels, and also vendor lock-in. Cloud providers often launch new services and change their prices frequently. You may find that costs increase or better deals become available elsewhere. If you are locked into a single provider, you will not be able to easily take advantage of better opportunities. This is the reason why one may think about being multi-cloud ready. It may be useful to use specific services from one cloud provider, but it's important to remember that the more you tie, the harder it will be to escape. If you choose a multi-cloud approach, your organization retains the power, not the cloud vendor. If you adopt a multi-cloud approach from the start, your developers can also create applications that will work on multiple platforms, giving you maximum flexibility to take advantage of the best prices and capabilities of different platforms. That's why multi-cloud approach is more and more popular. IDG survey about cloud computing found that more than half of respondents use multiple public clouds, 44% use two, and 10% use three public cloud providers. And the latest Flexera State of the Cloud report concludes that 92% of enterprises have a multi-cloud strategy, and 80% have a hybrid cloud strategy. So we can say that the cloud is the present, but the multi-cloud is the very nearest future. What are the advantages of multi-cloud? Firstly, the ability to cost or performance optimization. If some cloud provider becomes more expensive, we can simply move our application to another cloud provider. Secondly, it's possible to customize the cloud to business requirements. It is possible to use the best services from many cloud providers. Sometimes it can be more suitable location or region. Sometimes it can be some service or virtual machine type. The next advantage is the fact that using multi-cloud, we can avoid vendor lock-in. Many organizations opt for multi-cloud because they want to avoid being tied to a single cloud provider, as we discussed previously. Multi-cloud can also mitigate risk from potential cloud outages. The outage on any one cloud platform is less likely to harm. And last but not least, in multi-cloud environment, we can make dynamic cross-cloud auto-scaling. So not auto-scaling among one cloud provider, but among all possible cloud providers. So I think we agree that multi-cloud seems promising, but it is not very easy to implement this approach. It's important to remember that each cloud provider has a specific API, and if company wants to move to multi-cloud and use multi-cloud approach, the IT team has to learn multiple clouds, which can cost more, definitely, than learning a single cloud. What's more, every cloud provider has a simple scaling tool. It's not clear how to use in the multi-cloud environment these tools, and it is not possible to use them for cross-cloud auto-scaling. It has to be done by another tool. And these are the reasons that together with multi-cloud strategy, multi-cloud management tools are being intensively developed these days. And guess what? Big cloud providers also see it. They now offer multi-cloud management tools like Google Anthos, announced 2 years ago in version beta, now available as a full service, but still quite expensive. Azure Arc, which is a platform to manage services on premise in cloud, announced also in 2019. And even the semi-monopolist on this market, AWS, announced a tool that allows for hybrid approach in AWS, which is called AWS Outspots. And it allows users to run AWS services on their own infrastructure. And last but not least, 7bulls.com develops together with other partners of Melodic project, open source platform that is available from 2018. And in the next part, we will show you its possibilities and features. As you can see, due to the advantages that multi-cloud computing offers, various multi-cloud management platforms have been developed recently, each with its own advantages and weaknesses. And this table attempted to review all these multi-cloud management platforms based on a hierarchical criteria framework covering the dimensions of cloud orchestration support, cloud application support, and platform intelligence. It is just a short summary because it's not the main topic today, but I will just briefly mention what are the aspects that we are evaluating here. So firstly, the cloud orchestration support, which contains the possibilities to orchestrate cloud services, the multi-cloud support. So if platforms supports both public, private, and cross-cloud deployments, various deployment types like containers, virtual machines, and specialized resources kinds such as GPU. Another aspect of cloud orchestration is the bring your own node support, which means the support of bare metal nodes. It is important because user might have existing resources hosted in specialized infrastructure or private clouds. And the ability of multi-cloud management platform to explore and manage such resources is a useful feature. The last aspect is automation, which means creating an execution plan based on the model and execution the cloud application deployment. Ideally, it is expected that based on the model of the user application, a multi-cloud management platform could derive and execute a concrete orchestration plan to relieve users from manually specifying needed infrastructure. The second important criteria is cloud application support. And almost multi-cloud management platform goal is to support the multi-cloud applications management spanning their whole lifecycle. The platform intelligence is also mentioned here and evaluated because platforms should derive extra knowledge to optimize client's application in terms of its initial deployment and its continuous reconfiguration. It should optimize regarding many factors like performance and cost aspects. And these evaluations clearly showed that many platforms are now focused on orchestration capabilities and to support as many services and deployment options as possible. Here the most popular are Morpheus and Cloud Bolt. Many of them does not provide any optimization or just basic monitoring capabilities. And some of them are business focused, which means that they provide cost monitoring and optimization capabilities. I marked here the open source platforms. So Apache Brooklyn, Cloudify, DCOS, and Melodic. And these open source platforms are usually more intelligent, but they provide support only for main cloud providers. And here in this open source section, Melodic has the biggest score because it supports not only main cloud providers, but also smaller like Octawave or One-Step Cloud, and also various types of the deployment. So serverless, Bion, and Docker deployment. So let us now focus more on Melodic multi-cloud management platform. It can be seen as a middleware between the application and the cloud provider. It allows for multi-cloud application deployment, and it is also open source. We have some experiences, and we also have arguments for claiming that this solution is unique. And that is the reason that I would like to tell you a few words about Melodic. What are Melodic key features? Basically, it calculates the best cloud environment for application and deploys the application automatically. Moreover, during the application execution, Melodic collects data about the current state of the application and manages to always have the most optimal environment. For instance, if some cheaper offers is found, Melodic will move your VMs to use these cheaper offers. An important feature of Melodic is the fact that it is cloud agnostic. All modeling, reasoning, and developing happens without indication and knowledge about the provider. This allows a user to avoid vendor lock-in and makes moving to another cloud provider easy. Melodic supports various types of the application components, like common VMs, Docker containers. It has the native Spark support, and it is also able to deploy the serverless components. It is a very secure tool, and the security is still being improved. It has the centralized authentication and authorization of the application. Melodic supports the deployment in OpenStack providers, AWS, Google Cloud Platform, Azure, Octawave, and OneStep Cloud. So, how does Melodic work? Firstly, user needs to create a camel model for his application, and I will tell you more about camel in a minute, and set up initial parameters for the application. After that, Melodic starts the work. It downloads the offers from all cloud providers that user has access. It calculates the best cloud deployment configuration for application and deploys it automatically. The reasoning part is done by solving the constraint optimization generated from the camel model. When the application is ready and working, Melodic starts collecting defined by the user metric about currently running configuration. If the better solution appears or actual solution becomes unacceptable because one of the constraints, the reconfiguration is triggered. And Melodic on continuous basic looking for better solution for the deployment and makes the reconfiguration if newly found solution is significantly better than the current one. It means that it can do another virtual machine, add more instances, or whatever Melodic establish as the best deployment for the given context. Therefore, during the application execution, Melodic manages to always have the most optimal environment. As I mentioned before, Melodic is a complete solution starting from modeling through profiling, optimization, runtime reconfiguration, and monitoring. The first step is modeling. To do the modeling of the application, we use CAML, which is Cloud Application Modeling and Execution Language. It is a domain-specific and cloud provider agnostic language based on Eclipse modeling framework and similar to Tosca. It covers all aspects of application modeling. It is possible to model in CAML the application components, connections between them, security aspects. It supports various types of application components, script-based, Spark components, Docker containers, and also serverless components. It allows also for complex infrastructure requirements modeling, and what is probably the most important and unique, it allows for modeling user preferences called utility function and constraints. It makes the optimization process in Melodic possible. What's more, it supports models and runtime modeling. It is used to express the application state during the runtime. In other words, it supports the description of the application state before it starts to be deployed, during the optimization, and when the application is running. As you can see here, CAML is built from modules. And what's important to notice is the fact that these modules can be reused in more than one CAML application model. For example, in the Melodic, we have some predefined metric models that are reused in many application models. And generally, CAML contains three main parts: the definition of the application, the components, communication between them, and the parameters, the requirement model, which describes the resources that are enough to ensure the proper running of the application, and the metric model, where are rules for the reconfiguration, the definitions of metrics, constraints, and utility function. What is the best deployment? And that is a very good question. One of the most important features of Melodic platform is its intelligence. So the ability to find the best cloud application deployment. It is done by using constraint problem models and utility functions. The Melodic goal is to maximize the user's utility by maximizing the utility function. I will not go into details now, but just to mention that Melodic, together with the newest extension, Morphemic, uses 5 solvers using various optimization techniques, such as Monte Carlo tree search, supervised learning, parallel tempering, learning automata, and so on. And Melodic, using these solvers on continuous basic looking for the better solution for the deployment. It collects metric containing information about the usage of resources and other important for the user information, often business specific. And user can create his own sensor or use built-in sensors to combine the utility function. The newest feature that is being developed in Morphemic is called the execution context prediction. It means the application is optimized for future runtime conditions thanks to complex time series forecasting methods, implementation, and novel optimization techniques. We don't only react on increasing workload, Melodic together with Morphemic is predicting it. User preferences usually covers many aspects which are often conflicting. For example, one may want to minimize the cost, keeping the average response time to the user below 1 second. If there are too many requests, there is a need to add more instances, but it will increase the cost, which we want to minimize. And that's the reason that there is always a trade-off between the cost and the performance, and you will see how Melodic handles this trade-off in real demo provided by Maciek. So to sum up, Melodic supports a very flexible utility function approach to ensure the best possible optimization of cloud application deployment. And the application deployment workflow with Melodic is very simple. You as a user need to model your application in Camel and install the Melodic platform. Then you just need to submit your Camel model to your Melodic instance. Push the big green button to start the deployment of the application and observe. Thanks to the Melodic UI, you will be able to see the reasoning process of Melodic, but you are not expected to do anything more. You can connect, relax, and enjoy your application working. Thank you.
So our next brilliant speaker is Alicia Renievich. She will give you an introduction of Melodic, open source software for managing application and how to model and manage the lifecycle of application in multi-cloud. Alicia is a full stack developer in technologies related to web applications, Java, Spring, Angular, code integration, and maintains use of cloud services also in programming. Alicia is presenting Melodic platform in various conferences to potential customers from a technical point of view. So, Alicia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Josephine, for introducing me. Hello, everyone. During my part of presentation, I would like to present you how to use Melodic. In order to start Melodic usage, we need to at first install it on any own environment. I start my presentation from Melodic website, where detailed instruction with all requirements how to install our platform is available. We can download here a text instruction which contains description how to install and configure Melodic step by step. Also, we can find here link to the GitLab repository where Melodic code is available. It is open source, so it is possible to download, use, and also to improve. We can install Melodic on any environment, preferably on virtual machine, but also it is possible to install it on own computer, as it is really secure and easy to manage thanks to using Docker containers. My Melodic platform is already installed and configured on virtual machine on AWS. It is up and ready to use. Now I'm logged in, so now I can describe you how to use Melodic. At the beginning, I would like to describe Melodic users. Melodic users are managed by LDAP. During Melodic platform installation process, users are asked for provide default Melodic admin credentials, username and password. After that, all Melodic accounts are fully managed by UI. And now we are logging as administrator, so we can see this manage users option in menu and list of each type of users after choosing it. We have 3 possible roles of users. Common user, he can perform application deployments. Admin user, he manages of users' accounts and also has all privileges from common user. And technical user, he is used only internally by Melodic components and he is not important from client's point of view. Administrator has permission to creating new user accounts with auto-generated strong random password or with password provided by him. A new user can log in with credentials created by admin, and after the first login, he should change the password by choosing this option from menu. Of course, we required a strong password, and here we can see all details about it. What is important? We improved security policy by adding locking account mechanism by LDAP after 4 failed login attempts. When user account is locked, only admin can unlock in from view with user list. So, for example, if this user is locked, only administrator can unlock him using this button. The first step in Melodic usage is the defining of cloud settings. In provider settings menu part, we can check and update providers' credentials and options, as we can see here in cloud definitions for providers view. Filling these values is required in order to perform successful deployment because they are used in contact with providers. For example, by creating virtual machines instances. On my environment, I have already defined these values for Amazon Web Service and for OpenStack provider. Of course, it is possible to add such definition for other providers. For example, for Google Cloud Provider, for Azure, or Octawave, Polish cloud provider. In these definitions, we provide cloud credentials and also properties. For example, settings for Amazon security group or a set of private images which we would like to use in our deployments. When our platform is properly configured, we can go to deployment bookmark, where we start deployment process. we can see that our melodic machine is ready to use. So we can go to the next step. Before deployment, we need to model our application with its requirements in Camel model, which is human understandable and editable form, described a moment ago by Marta. After that, such model is transformed by dedicated tool to XML format, form understandable for melodic. We upload such XML file here by drag and drop. After that, our model is being validated and it is saved in database. In this case, we can see one already saved model for application with name FCR new, and it was uploaded by me at the beginning of our meeting. In the next step, I need to choose which application I want to deploy and which cloud providers I want to use. In that case, I have only one model stored in database, and it is FCR new. Also, here is possible to run application in simulation mode. Simulation mode is the case when we don't want to deploy real virtual machines on provider's platform, but only check which solution will be chosen by Melodic. We manually set values of metrics in simulation part, and we can observe the result. It is used in order to check how Melodic reacts for our settings from Camel model. For example, for coefficients in utility formula. In an easy way, it is possible to adjust them to our expectations. But in case if our platform, if our aim is to perform real deployment, I leave this option turned off. Then I need to select cloud providers. For example, I would like to deploy my application only on AWS. So I choose this cloud definition. Thanks to that, Melodic has credentials for this provider. Of course, it is possible to choose many cloud definitions in this step. Melodic has also one more interesting feature, which is named Bion. Bion shortcut means bring your own node. Melodic client can create own virtual machine and after that use them in application deployment. In such situation, Melodic uses this machine as node for installation on them particular application component. In Bion settings, it is possible to manage of such definitions. We can create new Bion definition by providing all required information needed for creating node. And there are such data as name, IP addresses, login credentials, and physical parameters of machine. For instance, a number of cores, memory, disk parameter, information about operating system, and also geographical location. After creation, such definition is available by application deployment. On my platform, we can see that I have already defined one Bion definition. And before starting the deployment process, it is possible to add it to our platform in order to use during this deployment. So by each deployment, user can decide if he wants to use some beyond definition or not. Of course, these definitions are saved on user's own Melodic platform, and they can be changed and updated later, for example, during the next deployment. On my platform, I have already performed deployment. So when I can go to the next step, but I don't need to start the process one more, because it is already started and even finished, as we will see in a minute. And I would like to only describe it, so I don't need to start it again. So now please let me go to the deployment process overview. The first step of the deployment process is fetching offers. We have information about current total number of offers from previously selected providers. So in my case, from AWS. From these offers, Melodic will choose the best solution for each of our components. After choosing this box or offers option from menu, we are directed to detailed view about offers. And there are clouds with my properties and credentials to AWS. List of available hardwares with such parameters as number of cores, RAM, and disk. List of locations, and images. Here we can see only our private images, but of course, all public images are available for us. The next step of process is generating constraint problem. Constraint problem is generated based on our requirements defined in Camel model. In simple process view, there are visualized all variables from constraint problem with their domain values. FCR, so Secure Documents Application, which is deployed here on this platform now, is web application built from 3 components: load balancer, database, and application. This application stores encrypted documents using advanced distributed key encryption. User communicates with one load balancer, which divides requests between available application instances. All data are stored in one database. Melodic, based on metrics about application performance and user requirements, optimizes number of application instances. So here we can see that we have such variables as cardinality for each of components and also provider for each of them. Detailed data about constraint problem are shown after click on this box. And here are presented list of variables with additional information about component, type of this variable, and domain values, and also type of this domain. Utility formula. It is used for measure utility of each possible solutions and choose the best one. List of constants with types and values. They are created from user requirements and are used in Melodic calculations. Here we can see, for example, minimum and maximum values for cardinality of component with application. So we would like to have from 1 to maximum 10 application components. We set such type of restriction in order to control costs of our deployments. And the last element here, metrics. They describe current performance of this application. Thanks to them, Melodic can make a decision about triggering the reconfiguration process, which means creating new additional instances or deleting not fully used ones. And now we can back to the process view. When a constraint problem is generated, it is time for rezoning. Melodic finds here the best, the most profitable solution for the problem defined by us. When rezoning is completed, we can observe information about calculated solution, so utility value and values for each variables. In our case, we have one application, exactly one database, and also one load balancer. And all of these components are deployed on the same provider, which was selected by me, so on AWS. And the next step in process deployment is deploying. Here, Melodic performs operations based on calculated solution. This solution is deployed. For each application component, Melodic creates proper instances, remains them, or deletes. If you want to have a more detailed view, it is possible to see process view using advanced view button. And now we are redirected to Camunda. Camunda is a tool for modeling processes in BPMN standard and for management of them. And it is used by us in our platform. I log in here by the same credentials are for the whole Melodic. Oh, I'm sorry. And now I need to choose our running process instances. Now on this machine, we have only one process. After choosing this process, we can see the detailed view of it. So we can observe each step of the process. And now we can see that after performing of each of these steps, we are at the end of our process, so our process is finished. This view is more for technical user, and also it is really useful, for example, during diagnostic of some problem. Our application is successfully deployed, so we can check the result in your application bookmark. In this view, there are displayed lists of created virtual machines and functions. Secure Documents application requires only virtual machines. We can see that Melodic created as far 3 virtual machines, so one application, one database, and one load balancer. These VMs are created in AWS EC2 in Dublin. Also, we have here button for web SSH connection to each of our instances. In case of serverless functions, which are also supported by Melodic, we would have data about name, state, provider, location, memory, runtime, stack, and the city where some, for example, AWS Lambda or Azure function is located. Also, we can verify if our VMs are really created in console of cloud service providers. So in this case on AWS. So now I go to AWS EC2 console, and here I can see my load balancer, my application component, and also my database component. And that's it of Melodic platform overview. I hope you find it intuitive and easy to use. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Alicia. I think you hypnotized our attendees. I don't see any questions and answers. I hope that it will be very soon. But coming back to our session, I would like to introduce our next outstanding speaker. It's Maciej Riedl. He will show you the deployment and optimization of the big data application to finish jobs processing in expected time with the minimal cost. A few words about Maciej. He's a Java developer at Seven Bulls, involved in multiple projects concerning the AWS Cloud Spring and GPU optimization for machine learning. He has been working with Melodic for 2 years, responsible for implementing new features of the platform, as well as integration with additional cloud providers. So Maciej, the floor is yours.
Thank you for the introduction, Justine. Let me share my screen. Okay, hello. In this presentation, I would like to show you what happens when the application is already deployed. And as you can see, we are pretty much where Alicia has finished her presentation, when the application is already running. I want to show you that this application is not left alone. It is not just running, but but Melodic can improve it, can monitor it, can gather information, and launch an extremely powerful reconfiguration process that improves it and finds optimal solution even later. To do so, I will show you an application that is called Genome. It is already started. It is a real case scenario, so I'd like to concentrate to stop here a little to explain it a little more. And it is an application that was prepared with collaboration of University of Białystok, Polish University. And it concentrates on analysis of large data sets, both concerning genetic and genome types of data. And it is important to say that the goal of those analyses is a selection of all relevant feature based on binary decision variable. Sorry, and also, this genome application uses algorithm of exhaustive search of the entire space of tuples. And as you can assume, and because of the fact that the data sets are really big, the genome needs really big amount of computations to be performed, as well as quite big amount of resource usage. Fortunately, it is highly scalable, and we can use cloud resources for that. We would want to optimize the cost as well as the desired time to result ratio, and for that, Melodic would be just perfect. From the implementation side, Genome uses Spark, which is an open source engine for distributed computations. And it works really well with big data approach or parallel computations. So we would be using it. And the idea is quite simple. Like normally we would have multiple workers that want to perform scheduled jobs, and they communicate with Spark Master to pull them, and then they perform them. Luckily, Spark Master is the tool that is already integrated into Melodic. So we would not need to launch a new component. It is already a part of Melodic. As you can see here, we have the details of Spark Master here and the connected workers. We then go to Grafana panel, which is really important, which is a monitoring tool, also integrated with Melodic. And here we would be able to see the communication between the communication between Melodic and the workers. There are also a few details of the current configuration. As you can see, number of instances implies how many workers we currently have. But what is more interesting are the metrics. Those are the information we gather from each worker, and they pretty much can be everything we want. They had to be specified earlier. So normally they could be like CPU usage or RAM usage, but here in this specific scenario, we concentrate more on those computations. How they are performed, how long time does it take to finish them, and also how much time is left. I mentioned before that we need to optimize time to result ratio, and as you can see, we started with almost 600 jobs, which is quite a big amount of computations to be performed, and with 1 hour to perform them. We also started with 1 worker as a starting configuration. And what happens here is that as long as the application works, it may happen that this worker is not sufficient, that following computation needs more resources. And this is what happens, is that Melodic counts new values for minimum cores, how many new values are, how many new virtual machines would be needed. And based on that, it estimates time of how much longer is going to take to finish all the configured jobs. As you can see, currently, like the estimated time is pretty similar to the time that is left. And when the estimated time would be bigger than time left, which may happen when computation takes too long, the Melodic can choose to launch reconfiguration process. And in this scenario, it would based on those metrics, it would see if a new configuration is needed. I would then go to Melodic view deployment view. I would just point out that currently the estimated time is too big than time left. The color has not yet updated because we have a bigger refresh time. We would then go to Melodic deployment, to process view. Okay, as you can see, one of the configuration process has been ended, as the multiple of them can happen after the application is already launched. And like when you see those blocks, they're quite similar to what you have seen during deployment. And they are pretty much the same, but now we have more knowledge, the important knowledge. And this important thing happens in reasoning, where we have the values of those metrics. And for example, this minimum cores values, those estimated time left. And based on that, Melodic can find a better solution, for current situation, because the one chosen after deployment, after the application has been running, turned out to be not proper for this current situation. And this is exactly what happened here. After reasoning with more data, a new deployment has been not new deployment, but new virtual machines have been added, because the amount of them was not sufficient. As a reminder, we started with just 1, and then we communicate with the cloud to start new virtual machines. I'll go back here. Here you can see like the number of instances that was increasing over time. We started, as I mentioned, with just 1, and over time we had, it seems, 2 reconfiguration processes. First increasing the amount of them to 2, and then increasing the amount to 3. And that would result in a situation that the estimated time would decrease, and which is important, like the situation if Melodic finds suitable to start another reconfiguration process to find a better solution, it will do so. Or we can show in instances AWS list that we should have here more instances. I remind you that we started with just 1, now we have 3 workers. I'll go back to here. Okay. And as I can see, currently the estimated time after those 3 now 3 reconfigurations, is sufficient for us to fulfill all the computations on time. It is also worth mentioning that Melodic can decrease cost. So if it finds that the current solution is good for us, but we can decrease the amount of virtual machines, it would do so. Okay, I hope I have shown you that the application is not just left alone after it is deployed, but that Melodic can handle it over time and improve it, even without our decision to make it better. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. And we are going now smoothly to our next great speaker. It's Paweł Skrzypek. He will present AI investments, the real benefits of multi-cloud deployment and optimization. A few words about Paweł. He's a highly experienced architect of ICT systems with extensive knowledge of machine learning and big data solutions. He's a chief multi-cloud architect working on Melodic project and other cloud computing projects, focusing on multi-cloud and serverless approach. So Paweł, now your turn.
Thank you, Josefina. Good afternoon. And thank you to all of the participants. I'm really happy to be here and to be able to present why the multi-cloud is the only possible option. I want to present the real example, AI Investments, the small Polish company which aims to use the advanced machine learning, reinforcement learning based algorithms to create the complete platform for investments portfolio optimization. These algorithms requires a huge amount of the computing power. So thanks to the multi-cloud, this small company can compete with the biggest giants, big investments, banks, and so on, because the cost of the computation and the performance is much, much higher. I will show that on the numbers. But maybe let's start with the more general question. Why to break out and enter into the multi-cloud world? Short answer is that in longer term, you have no choice. Longer answer has the 3 words more. First word is money. Because using the multi-clouds, you can optimize usage of your multi-cloud resources and benefits from all of the possible cloud providers. The second word is independence. You are no longer vendor locked in. You are independent. You can move your application and workloads whenever you want to move, and are not tightly bound to the one single cloud provider. And the third word is the competition, because using the multiple cloud providers, you could choose the best elements, the best services, the best resources from all of them. You are not tightly bounded to the one cloud provider. For example, the leading cloud provider is AWS, but the most efficient and in terms of the performance and cost solution for the machine learning application is offered by Google Cloud Platform. So in that case, you need to choose if you have the single cloud deployment. You can go to the AWS and not use the advanced machine learning solution from the Google Cloud Platform, or you can go to the Google Cloud Platform and can use the advanced AWS services. But with multi-cloud, you have both options on the same plate. Thanks to that, you can build the competition, you can build your competition advantage over your competitors, and it is exactly the case of the AI investments. As Marta said at the very beginning of this webinar, AI investments is using machine learning capabilities on a very high scale. AI Investments is using the latest advancement of the machine learning in the time series forecasting, optimization, and also other techniques to build the complete investment platform, which offer outstanding return to risk results. Yeah? And the results of the AI investments are really, really good. Thanks to that, this optimization and latest method. What are the challenges for the AI investments? It is a quite complex system which operate on the over 200 different markets, financial instruments parallelly. It needs to train and retrain 400 machine learning models which are used for the forecasting. They are trained, retrained using serverless and using machines on the GPUs. We have over 100 models trained simultaneously. And also we are using advanced Monte Carlo research with neural networks, which is highly parallelized thanks to use the serverless approaches. We are able to run up to 3,000 threads in using the serverless components. So it is the equivalent of quite big HPC machine. And also we need to process up to 500 events per second, market data, actions, and so on. So the challenges are really significant, and they are solved, or at least part of them are solved using the Melodic, which allows for the multi-cloud optimization and optimal deployment of the application to the right, most efficient for given case cloud. Melodic, again, as Marta said, and Ala presents live, supports the virtual machines, containers, serverless components, big data framework, and many more resources. And the list is still increased in each new release. And very important, it's fully open source, so you can download and use. What is the typical business goal for the AI investments? Typical goal is to train the certain number of the machine learning models, let's say 50, in a given time frame, like 1 hour. We need to meet the deadline, of course, using as minimal number of resources as possible. And how it is done? The investments analyst in the AI investments, this guy in blue, yeah, starts training the models, set the parameters, which model, number of the models, and the deadline, so the time which he wants to finish the training. The training is started at first on the on-premises resources because they are already exist, they are already bought, so the marginal cost is 0. But usually the on-premises resources are not enough, so Melodic is analyzing the estimated finish time and adding new resources in the cloud. And the training is started to be distributed using the most optimal cloud providers. Melodic is constantly analyzing the estimated time to finish, the number of the trained model, number of the models which needs to be trained, and so on, and constantly adding and removing resources based on the estimated finish time. And after the finishing processing, all of the cloud resources are removed. Of course, the machine learning models are stored in the cloud, in the optimized cloud, and cloud resources are removed to not generate cost. So the use case is simple, but extremely powerful. Yeah, the estimated savings using that model are calculated something like the 175,000 US dollars in the 3 years perspective, which for the company like AI investments is a huge savings. Of course, this is a difference between the optimal solution, which is deployed using melodic and multi-cloud approach, and some extreme solution like cloud only or on premises only. So probably the savings in the real world will be slightly lower, but nevertheless it is worth to deploy that that approach. And even more, thanks to that, AI investments can use the best available, the best in terms of the performance to price resources, which are accessible on the cloud computing market. There are, of course, more benefits. The first one is obvious, the effective optimization of the resource consumption. The second is the automatic scanning of the machine learning training. So if your company is doing machine learning on the scale, and then Melodic is a perfect solution for scaling your training. And the very important element is that you can optimize your work efficiency relatively to the budget. Yeah, so the budget is controlled, no longer the cost of cloud computing are going too high or out of control. And the last one thing, which is like some kind of the sideways feature, but we are also consider it as a key feature of Melodic, is the automatic high availability. So the reliability of the application is increased because in case of the failure of the on-premises infrastructure, or in case of the outage one of the cloud provider, the Melodic could dynamically and fully automatic move application to the working cloud provider, and the application will continue its the processing data. Probably cost will be slightly higher, because the optimal solution is no longer available due to the outage, but in that case the new optimal solution will be found, and for the current condition, and Melodic will continue processing this data using that application. So that's all from my side. I hope that it's convincing, and you know that there are no choice other than the multi-cloud approach. So if you are interested, please visit the Melodic website. Also be in touch with the Morphemic project, in which project new, really innovative and advantage, proactive and polymorphic adaptation will be developed and deployed. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Pavel, for your presentation. And now last, but of course not least, Katarzyna Materka.
Hi, hello.
I will just share my screen. Okay. So last but not least, as I said, with the knowledge you just gained from our webinar, Katarzyna will show you how to start. She's a manager of the Cloud Solutions department at Seven Balls. She's involved in defining strategies and test procedures, certified in Prince2 Foundation and ISTQB. Kasia is a technical work package leader in the Morphemic project and involved in many other European projects. So Kasia, now your turn.
Thank you, Josefina. A great introduction. That's true. I am involved in lots of things, but I here would like to show you very briefly how to start with the Melodic, because this is also very important. That was very interesting introduction and explanation how it works, what we can achieve, and what is the benefits of using of the Melodics in the very way, but how to start with work with it. In fact, it's very easy. You have to go to our website, and there you find the download of the Melodic. I will show you our website. Will be easy to manage and describe how it works. So here you can find all information about the Melodic.
you can find a detailed manual how to install Melodic here, first place when you can looking for some information. If it's not too much, then you can go to our guidebooks. They're detailed and description, lots of description how to do that. It's important to think that Melodic is fully open source, released on Mozilla public license, so you can use and adopt it for your purposes without any limitation. Also on the Melodic website, you can find success stories, how it works, also with presented by Paweł a few minutes ago, information about AI investments on the other providers. I'm sorry, for the other use cases, not providers. And you can also find many interesting information about our webinars, about our events on which we are presented Melodic, on which we organized workshops and other things helps to understand how it works, and we promote it very heavily. But this is not all. This is our Melodic website, but also we have Morphemic website on which we can provide very detailed information about the proactive adaptation and the optimization of the application. So we want to present here in our new project, in which is a continuation of the Melodic and extension of it. And we provide here information more detailed about the technical and innovative part of the project. You can also request about demo here and contact very quickly with us, and we can show once again how it works. So backing to my short presentation, I said how to start. So yes, this is not only our website and downloading and place when we provide some information and description of the project. We are also want to invite you very welcome to become a Melodic developer. Melodic is open source code is available on OW2, the biggest European open source organization. You can register there and start to contribute to Melodic. It's fully European project, and we really want to encourage all developers to participate in the development. And finally, last but not least, we want to invite very warm all of you to follow our social media, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. We are very active there. We try to publish very interesting information, not only about our projects, about the Melodic and Morphemic, but other things from the clouds world. So, warm welcome. And thank you very much. And let's go on to the last point of our presentations.
Yes, thank you very much, Kasia. So now we have the last session. It's question and answers. I hope you see my screen very well.
Yes, we can.
Hello?
Yes,
okay.
we can. We can also show all our panelists. Josefina, you are unfortunately black, but maybe you
yes,
can.
I hope now.
Oh,
Okay.
now we can see you. Great.
Yes, actually the weather is bad in front of me, just behind me, and not like this, but yeah. But starting questions and answers, because this session was full of information, technical and interesting melodic morphemic information. So do our attendees have any questions? To raise a hand. Any concerns, any opinions, questions, anything that you have? I don't see. I don't know if I see well, but we don't have any questions, right? So far, we can wait. We can also give you a voice. You have No opinions, no concerns. Everything was clear for you.
It's good to hear that.
Good to hear, yeah. It's always good to hear that everything was clear and good prepared. So if it's nothing from our attendees, I think that we can close right now. Our webinar, of course, is recorded. We are also on the chat on LinkedIn. You have also the contact to our speakers, to Melodic Morphemic website. So you have many opportunities to contact us and many channels to contact us. So and of course, this webinar will be available on our websites and social media. And of course, stay tuned because after vacations, we will organize another webinar. I think there is some question. Okay, there is one question. Yes. I will say, shortly said that how cost optimization problem can be solved through Melodic. Who would like to answer for our speakers?
I think the best person is Marta for that answer.
How cost optimization problem can be solved through Melodic? This is a question from Nandi.
Wouldn't you mind to answer?
Yes. Sure, I hope you can hear me and even see me. Yeah, shortly said, Melodic considers cost as a part of the during the optimization, the cost is considered. So Melodic is trying to find the cheapest offer that will ensure the performance needed by the application. So for genome case that you already seen, we are trying to find the minimum number of instances that will allow to finish the simulation on time. And not only minimum number of instances, but the minimum number of the cheapest possible instances. So that's the big difference comparing to other platforms. Melodic considers cost, and it is not the...
Okay, thank you very much. I hope that to Mr. Nandi, this question, this answer was useful, was right. I don't see any other questions. We have something on chat.
I will also type.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I don't see anything more.
One more question.
Yes, it's question. Can you please help with this recording or some references links if possible, maybe for Melodic part?
I think we can publish the recording after the
Yes, for sure. Recording will be publishing on YouTube probably, or I think that's on YouTube like previously. So for sure, we provide the links to and will be some email with the message with the recording meeting.
Yeah, I've also added some links in the answer. Type the link to the Melodic web page, and also you can follow us on the LinkedIn page. There are all information published, as Kasia already said.
Okay, so we have 2 answered questions. Anything open? I don't see. So we can wait 1 minute more, and I think that we can close this webinar. As I said, it's recorded, so it will be available, and our next webinars will be soon before vacations. So no questions more. So thank you. I think it's a good time to thank you all for your. Thank you first to our speakers and our attendees for this webinar, and stay tuned with us.
Thank you, Josefina. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.